Thank you.
I'm a little confused by that, but I'm going to...
No, let me clarify. You know, this town was studiously neutral on the question of whether or not we were a nonprofit university and whether or not our entrepreneurship ventures were consistent with that.
We thought we were doing you a favor.
Well, we would appreciate the support in the future, so we're happy to have the favor.
Okay. Well, my husband will vouch for the fact that I have a character flaw and that I can't let things go very easily, so I do want to have one comment on the Imani Perry. Not only was she speeding, she was driving without a valid license. And handcuffing her to a chair rather than handcuffing her behind her back or even two hands in front of her was an accommodation so that she could use her phone and text people. So, and it's in protection of the police that people have to be handcuffed while they're being processed. That is the equal treatment. So I just want to follow up on that.
Yeah, I've said, Joe, what I have to say about this, and said in particular what I think has to be recognized at a time when we have a good person in Professor Perry and a good town and a good police force, that when things unfold in a country with a history like ours, that one is going to have to recognize that even when people are doing things they shouldn't have done, and I've had a few speeding tickets in my life, that you're going to have incidents that unfold where one has to recognize the complexities of the story. I think that's what I did. If we have a disagreement about that, I understand that. But I respect what the town does, but I also appreciate what the members of my community have been through. And I was pretty careful about that in a way that I think your comments and some of the questions that I've got here tonight are not consistent with.
Well, we certainly do have I mean, it's clear we have a difference of opinion on that, and I think what you said privately in the email that I think many of us were CC'd on wasn't what it felt like in public, but that really wasn't. I think we mostly agree on this issue. I honestly,
I think we do too, Joe. So which is a little surprising to me that it's raised in so many questions, right? As I resonate with what Heather in particular said about this, I do think we have shared values and we're pushing forward on those, and that's where I'd like to push on that. And you know, if we want to look back at treatment in this case or in other cases that has raised concern, we can go there. But I don't think that's the right way for us to proceed.
That wasn't really my question, though. I was going to ask whether you're going to fire Sam Long. Or maybe just to make it
Academic freedom permits Sam Long to make whatever predictions he wants, to make whatever claims he wants about bugs, and to eat them as he likes, provided he complies with all the procedures of the IRB.
Actually, my real question, I want to put it back. I've never been one that has thought the relationship between town and government was so fractured, even when there's some people even at this table that might have alleged that. I think that our staffs have worked well together, and you know, whether it's the borough, former township, I think there's been always a lot that's gone on, and Kristen's done a fine job. But as far as these meetings, you know, this was new, and we certainly appreciate your coming, and we've had this dialogue, and there are times when it's felt a little forced conviviality, and then sometimes not so convivial at all. But
and what about the natural conviviality?
There's been some natural conviviality. But at the same time, I felt like, you know, we were willing to go along and do this with the hopes that when major issues arose, it would give us sort of the foundation from which we could deal with these things in a little better fashion than perhaps we had before. And I hate to pivot back to Imani Perry, but that was a situation where you may see it differently, but I think we felt, you know, not very supported. And frankly, now I hear that you didn't feel supported during the lawsuit, but during the settlement of the lawsuit, your attorneys, prevented us from participating in the discussions in this settlement, in which actually the pilot, you discussed with a third party, not us. And so I guess my question to you is, do you feel that these meetings are beneficial? Are we making progress? Is there something else we could be doing that would allow us to make more progress?
Yeah, Joe, I feel these meetings are quite beneficial. I think I began here, and I think the mayor began here as well. I think this is true. We began in this meeting this way, and we began 4 years ago, I guess, when we said this, which is that we're going to have these conversations. It's going to be better if we're having the conversations. It's better if we're talking tonight than if we aren't talking. That doesn't mean that there are not going to be contentious issues between us. There are going to be contentious issues at times, but I think we're going to be able to move constructively forward. And I think there have been several suggestions around the table that are looking at what it is that we can do in the future and what we can do together. And I see opportunities to move forward on those. And that includes sensitive areas like policing, where I actually think that the relationships between the town and the public safety at Princeton are in general very good. It doesn't mean that there aren't going to be episodes that are awfully tough, because we have, each of us, right, on this council and me at the university, fiduciary responsibilities that are different from one another, and we're going to act responsibly on those. I understand that disagreement. I respect disagreements about those, but I'm going to let you know how I feel, and you're going to let me know how you feel, and that's a better way to proceed. Leave it at that.